Jeremy. I appreciate all you guys. We're very excited about 1 Million Cups. I did present in Columbia. I'm scheduled to speak in St. Louis and Kansas City, and then in my tiny little hometown in Madisonville. They're actually at Madisonville, Kentucky, with like 8,000 people. They're having a 1 Million Cups, so I may have to go back for that. But thank you very much for having me. One thing that I'm happy to talk about in the Q&A, if you're interested, is you'll notice Sterling introduced us as EveryTicketGives. We're actually Every Event Gives now. That came about after some conversations with attorneys. How many entrepreneurs know what it's like to have lots of conversations with attorneys? You know, we know all about that. So I'm happy to talk about that if you want more details about why we ended up making that name change very early in our development. I am Sean Spence. I'm the CEO. This is who we are, Every Event Gives. And what we're trying to do, the challenge that we're solving, is people who are smaller. They're not venues. They're not, looking for Ticketmaster. They're people who are doing events in their local communities usually, but they may be doing events all over the country. They may be doing whatever, and they're looking for an easy way to sell tickets online for their events, and we provide that way. We provide, and if anybody familiar with Eventbrite, see a lot of heads shaking. That really was in part the inspiration. I was an event planner myself. I had an event business that was pretty successful. At one point we had 40 events going at one time, all of them running on somebody else's platform, and I started thinking, well, heck, an interesting business to go into at some point would be, why do I keep giving all this ticketing business to somebody else? We should start our own. And that really is part of what led to Every Event Gives. There are, just with that one platform, they did over 1 million events last year where they sold tickets. They sold over $1 billion worth of tickets. This ticketing industry, this part of the industry, sold over $4 billion worth of tickets last year. So it's a wonderful market. There's a lot of room. There are 260 companies-ish or so. We probably make it 261 or something like that. But it's just a really great part of the industry in the event world. The other piece is I've spent my life as an advocate. I used to do politics for a living. I've spent a lot of time working with nonprofits. And something that has been very important to me is giving back to the community. And so at the time we were thinking about creating Every Event Gives, we started to think, well, how do we integrate that in with giving back to the community? And that became a term that we coined, conscience-driven capitalism. We're actually trademarking that. I guess I should have put the T in there. But that is something that's very important to me and to my partners, and we can talk about this too in the Q&A if you want to, but really the vision is that Every Event Gives is the start, and then we own, I don't even know how many URLs anymore. I just bought Everything Solar Gives. We own Every Cigar Gives. We own Every soda gives, Every sandwich gives, all these sorts of things, because we envision this as being a long-term thing where integral to the way the company functions is giving back to the community. It's not just let's make giving important to us, it's for every sale that is made, let's give back to the community. And that's something that we believe is a philosophy that could end up helping to change the world just a little bit. The solution we offer is a really easy and free way to sell tickets. That's it. You can set up a website or a web page. It's very easy to do. If you wanted to have an event, most people it takes 10 minutes to 20 minutes tops to create a little web page for your event. And it's very easy, very fast. And then the charitable giving that we do not only is something that's important to us philosophically, but it provides an extra marketing advantage. It provides, for people to whom that is important. I talked to somebody yesterday who it was not important to at all. He said, I'll give to my church and I'll give to whoever, and I don't really care about that. Okay, thanks for your time. But to those to whom it is important, it provides an extra incentive to do business with us. The business model, very simple. People sell tickets, we collect money. That's it. This really is a payment processing. We never have inventory. It's such a great business from that perspective because we never have any inventory. We never have anything. All we do is somebody sells a ticket. You can print your ticket off of our website. There are a variety of other things that are the details of how you get your tickets and options and all that. But it's really very simple. We get a processing fee at the end of the event. You've done your event. We send you a check for the money that you have collected minus our fee, and on you go. It's very easy. The underlying magic is that We help our target market succeed at their core business while providing them an opportunity to make the world a better place at no cost to them. And that's the thing. You know, we charge the same amount as is industry standard, that we charge exactly what Eventbrite charges, for example, and that's basically the same formula, give or take a few pennies here and there. We charge the same way. So as an event host, you don't pay anything. All charges come about when somebody buys a ticket, and you know, we're all used to when we buy tickets or whatever, there's an internet charge, and that's really how the entire industry works. What makes us different is that we give that 50 cents per ticket out of our fee. So it's not something that we add on top. Honestly, we're making less money, and that was a choice that we made. We pay part of our fee to the charity of your choice, your choice, your choice. Whoever's doing the event, it's their choice where the money goes. And as long as it's a 501c3 that's recognized, we really don't care. I mean, there might be some that I'm going to be less happy to give to than others, but that's the event host's choice. Marketing and sales, we're using direct sales for local customers really just to help build up our base. And then nationally, we're doing email, phone contact, social media, and media relations. And we're doing that every day. I'm communicating with people in multiple states every single day. I'm hearing from people every single day. And we've really just started that. So we've got several events that are local. And my goal is to have our first 2 national events by August 15th. And so we'll see how that goes, but I'm pretty optimistic because we've got a lot of people who are, you know, what we entrepreneurs would think of as being on the hook. And somebody's going to completely bite sometime, I believe, within the next couple of weeks. Competition, as I mentioned, over 260 companies, handful of leaders, including Eventbrite, which has about 25% of the market at $1 billion worth of ticket sales last year. We have uniquely qualified management. I'm Sean Spence, I'm the CEO. I owned a marketing company which I started and ran very successfully. I owned an event business which I started and ran very successfully. This is a business that we know. I worked for a very large $400 million e-commerce company. So when you look at all the things there, I'm uniquely prepared to run the company. And then we've got Greg Wolff, CFO, who is a very successful entrepreneur and angel investor who also has he is a CPA. Mike Nichols, very successful entrepreneur. He's super genius. He's got like 10 patents to his name. Neil Swanson, who's our CTO, who's designed many, many, many sites, all in WordPress, which is the foundation we're on. Happy to go into detail about that. And Denise Falco, who is handling our local sales and marketing. And because of her connections, there just almost is nobody better to be selling this sort of thing locally. Financial projections and key metrics, everything is based on investment, sales, and the number of events and hosts that we get. We've got benchmarks for what we want to have by the end of August and really by the end of every month after then. We're already slightly ahead. I don't want to make a big deal out of that, but we are slightly ahead of where we wanted to be by this time, and we're pretty excited about that. Check with me again next month and the next month and next month, and we'll see how we do. Moving forward, we've got a proven concept. We're making sales. I very likely am selling tickets while I stand up here this morning. We're building our client base. The next stage is to prove the concept at a higher level, which is that national sales that I'm talking about. And in the end, I don't care too much about Colombia. What we care about is the whole rest of the country and then eventually the rest of the world. We're raising money at each stage of success. So we're about to go into a $50,000 to $100,000 round. We've raised a small amount of money right now, and I expect we'll raise another $50,000 to $100,000 in the next couple of months. I almost said couple of weeks, but really in the next 60 days, I expect we'll have $50,000 to $100,000. Then, probably 6 months after that, we'll be looking to raise $200,000 to $300,000, which honestly we don't anticipate is going to be that difficult. And build a profitable company and either sell it or keep building, and we'll decide that when it comes. That is my slightly over 6 minutes, and that is the end. So I'm here for Q&A, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you. And I'm not allowed to point to you. Somebody else chooses you.
As you grow, how do you add employees in relationship to the way other businesses have to add employees when their business grows?
Well, that's a great question. As an e-commerce company, we've got an awful lot of leeway and a lot lower needs. We really don't anticipate adding any employees for really at least for the next year. We've got the person who is our CTO potentially could go full-time within the next 18 months, but right now he's part-time. and is available for us whenever we need him. He's also got other people that he works with, so we're able to expand and contract as that becomes necessary. Honestly, almost everything that we do is really online. The local sales we do is our only sales force, and for the foreseeable future, it will be our only sales force. So we won't really need to deal with employees for probably 12 to 24 months, somewhere in there.
How do you differentiate yourself with other 260?
Well, really, we're the only one that does. Many of the companies do have programs where they give charitably. And I'm sure all of them are writing checks at some point throughout the year. We're the only company out of the 260-ish that gives money for every sale to the charity of the host choice. We're the only one that every ticket sold triggers a gift to charity. So that is something that is a differentiator. And again, while it's important to the founders, from a philosophical perspective, from a marketing perspective, it's just one of those things that helps to rise us, bring us up above the fold. And that's the primary way. Now, after that, we have to do a really good job of customer service and of technology, and we're working to provide the best customer service and technology in the industry.
So you mentioned that you were raising 50 to 100,000 in the next 60 days. What does that buy you?
Mostly it's going to be development of the site. We are going to use some of it for marketing. The goal is to use 60 to 70% of that for development of the site. It was, frankly, relatively inexpensive to do the first stage. We're in the next stage, which is a little bit more expensive. We can do 70 to 80% of what 70 to 80% of the people who use these services have everything they need with us. It's that last 20 to 30% that is so expensive. The first part wasn't so expensive, but every time we expand our services now, it just gets more and more and more expensive.
So tell me, how does that transition into your next round of raising capital? What the larger chunk of investment will get you?
Well, for the 50 to 100,000, we're going to spend 60 to 70% of that on development. And then when we move into the $200,000 to $300,000 round, we're probably still looking. Honestly, I haven't had to figure out exactly how that's going to be spent, so I haven't thought a whole lot about that. But we assume that that metric is still going to be basically the same, because we're not planning to hire anybody for up to 24 months, anybody more than we have. And we've got some money in the bank, so we can do what we need to do. And the company is, if not for the development, the company makes more money than it spends. So we've got money to spend on things.
Good morning. Welcome. You had mentioned you come from the e-commerce space, and I'm curious, I think you'll know the answer to this question. It's a two-part question.
I can make it up if I don't.
No, don't do that. I was wondering if you have partners or vendors that actually give back to you, that help you to give back to your businesses that you work with. And are you using a direct integration for your processing or a gateway that's costing you middleman money?
Yeah. Our biggest cost, after we pay people back, right? So somebody sells a $25 ticket or a $250 ticket, the vast majority of that money goes to them, right? So then after that, the vast majority of our money goes, not the vast majority, but the plurality, the largest plurality, then goes to credit card companies, right? The next largest chunk goes to, right now, Authorize.net, which is the gateway. And I think that they're probably going to make sense for us for the next year, or maybe a little bit more, and then we'll be in a better position to negotiate and look at options and that sort of thing. But that's where the largest single chunk of our money goes.
On the mobile side, on the check-in side, so when you come to the events, do you have a native app where you're using near-field communication, QR codes, or the actual process of checking in tickets, or so on and so forth? How is that technology working, or do you have anything in place?
Well, that is where we're going with the next round of funding. So right now, what we're doing is really optimizing our ability to check people in through mobile. QR codes, depends on how long my money lasts. The QR codes could happen in the next 60 days. Well, Well, it will happen in the next 30 days. It could happen in the next 30 days with the money that I have right now. It may have to wait for that second round of 50 to 100, and then we're going to start doing things like QR codes. One of the things that I'm really kind of excited, I don't know a whole lot about it yet, but we're looking at the options and figuring out the best way to do it. But the things for, IR scanners and different things like that, so that somebody could just walk through, scan something, and on they go. That'll be really the next level of what we do. But that's probably going to happen in that next round of funding. Most of those sorts of things, most of that development money will be spent on the check-in process, because one of our major goals is there's a very large event in Columbia, and those of you who know Columbia will know what it is, and I'm not going to tell you, and you can figure it out. But we have a couple of events in Columbia that bring in 20 to 30,000 people every year in a period of 1 to 3 days. One of those events I believe we can have next year if we can do what they need us to do. And that really is all about what you're talking about. It's making sure that all of that stuff works seamlessly, perfectly, and so that'll be our focus. That'll probably all be in place within about 90 days.
Sean, if you take those 200 plus companies that are essentially your competition,
Yes.
if you take away the charitable aspect of EveryEventGives.com, what do you think is the largest differentiating factor that someone would choose your platform over a giant like Eventbrite to host their event?
Well, honestly, that is our giant differentiating factor. Secondly, really it's just about personal contact. There's really room, there's a lot of room in the market. There's several companies that have only existed for the last 2 to 3 years that have already sold tickets in the millions. There is room, and there's still people who are looking for an alternative to Eventbrite. When you've got somebody who's got 25% of the market, there's room to find people. So one of the things we're trying to do is looking at, okay, here are all the things that say Eventbrite. And honestly, that's what we do. We compare ourselves to Eventbrite at every stage. They're the big gorilla. So I have lists of here's everything they do. And here are things that we can implement in the next 30, 60, 90 days further on, where I can say, okay, this is better in terms of technology. So like right now, for example, when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I say, well, for example, you can put multiple images on your event page. Can't do that on Eventbrite. You can put video on your event page. Can't do that on Eventbrite. So those are some of the conversations we have, finding little ways that are fairly easy to implement that make our technology better.
So with that being said, would you say that being small and nimble and significantly behind Eventbrite is to your advantage now?
I would say that it will be to our advantage as long as it is exciting for us to add 1 customer, 10 customers, 50 customers. Eventbrite's doing over 100,000 events a month, right? So they don't get excited about somebody who's got 500 people who are going to be buying tickets to an event. When I've got somebody who's going to be buying 5, which I do, like right now we just took on a new client, and as of Friday we will have made several changes to the technology. Not changes, but changes, but improvements to the technology based on what they wanted, right? Eventbrite and most of the other, certainly many of the other companies and the big dogs really don't get so excited about making changes for Mr. 500. We're very excited about making those changes because we make those changes, and then it also applies to 1,000 other companies. And so it helps us be better for all of our customers. And yes, the fact that we can make changes and say, okay, you need to have all that done by Friday, fine, we'll have that done by Friday. And so far, that's the answer we're able to give people.
So events with already philanthropic causes, I'm thinking of like 5K runs, things like that, for breast cancer, whatnot. How do you go ahead and it seems like you two are very congruent, and what is that customer acquisition? Because those are happening all over the country all the time. I mean, like that could be a real cornerstone of your business.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, there is, as we know, what we would love is to have, it costs a lot for our customers to change to another vendor, right? It costs nothing, and it is not a big deal for someone to switch from Eventbrite to us. So much of what we do right now is about personality and conversation and explaining to people. Yesterday, for example, we brought on a new customer that I'm very excited about. They're not huge. They're going to do several events a year that are, 100 to 200 people per event, right? Not a big deal. Big companies don't care at all. I care very much. And the conversation that we had was about their commitment to giving and to doing something for the community in addition to supporting their business. And so one of the things that I did, if you went to our site right now, you would see that I think the very latest post, you can see I post to the blog 1 to 3 times a day. The latest post is my personal professional biography, right, which lists things I'm involved in and shows that I've been very involved. And I sent that to her. And then I said, oh, she wants it, other people will want it, right? And I just sent it to her because then she was able to see, oh, these people care about the same sort of things that we care about. These are people who aren't just doing giving as a marketing tactic. It is something that's been a part of the fabric of what they've been doing for years and years and years. And so it's those conversations that make such a big difference when particularly when we're dealing with people who have that as a part of what they're doing, the runs and those sorts of things. But, we just took on a really big client that I'm really excited about. And these are all local clients right now. We just have some great connections locally. And they're looking at, they wanted a way to increase their ability to give back and to communicate to people that they were giving back because that was important to them. And so those philosophical discussions make a really big difference at our level, where picking up one big customer is a really big deal.
In your space, with any technology / space, it's always evolving. And one of the big things that's happening in your industry, it's a new movement, is there are companies launching where you can crowdfund events. So if you want a band to come out to your venue or whatever, you can put it out there for people to crowdfund, and if they reach the number that you're wanting, the band will come. If they won't, don't reach your goal, it refunds their money. Where do you see the ticket industry going, like with things like this, or evolving to in the next 5 years?
Yeah, we have a lot of conversations about that, and there are a bunch of things. I mean, one, we've started to talk a little bit about crowdfunding. So much of it is kind of a geeky, wonky thing where we're trying to figure out how to make the best technology and how to make it easier for people and how to make it easier for hosts to track where people are coming from and who's coming to our events. And so that's a lot of it is geeky, wonky stuff that nobody cares about. I think crowdfunding is potentially a big deal. There are also some real social media integration things that I think are going to be important. One of the things that I'd like to see us do, probably within the next year, is making it very easy for people to take their event ticketing and turn that into a social media platform that is much more powerful, that allows all of their attendees to upload their pictures and their videos and all of that. Nobody does that. I mean, it sounds like something very simple. I mean, we're all on Facebook or LinkedIn or on something, but nobody is doing that. And that's something that I think we'll see more and more of, and that's something that you'll see us doing certainly within the next 6 to 12 months.
That's great. Aside from buying tickets as we wrap up here, talk about the opportunity for our audience to get involved and help you, and then we'll wrap up with the question, what can we as a community do for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really appreciate it. I love that question. How can we help you? Go to the site, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, use us for an event. Tell anybody that you know that's doing an event, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, if they're looking for a way to sell their tickets. And honestly, it amazes me how many people do not have an easy way still to sell tickets online. They don't really understand Eventbrite or any of the others. They would if they took 10 minutes out of their lives, but they don't. So refer us. Always refer us. Go to the website. If you want to invest, we'll be investing. I've got cards. We'll be adding investors in St. Louis and Kansas City. And I lived in Springfield for a year, so I'd love to have Springfield investors. But those are really the ways. But I would love to have you, if you care about event planning, that is really a big focus of the content that we upload to the website and to Facebook. If you care about being a good event planner, just taking care of your own events at home, you will find lots of great stuff every day on our website and on our Facebook page in particular. So those are some of the ways you could help. Write me a check. That'd be good.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
All right. Well, as we transition, and for those of you in the back, there's a bunch of seats up here in the first 2 rows if you guys prefer not to stand. If so, it's totally up to you. Just a couple quick announcements. A couple people have said they're not on our email list. If you are not receiving our emails and you would like to, we send that out on Tuesday night. that just has an update of who's presenting the next morning. Just go online and register to come to the next event, or you can register out front or out back, and we'll send you an email. A couple quick announcements. MATA meets tomorrow here at the E-Factory in this room at 4 p.m. The real estate investor meeting is at July 24th at 6 p.m. at Pasta Express. And those guys are all in this room. Sherry is here, and then the guys from iProperties are here as well. If you all have any other announcements or events that you would like to add to this show, just come up here early, and instead of listing them all, we're just going to put them on this list, and then we will post them to Facebook and a couple other things as well, so we can increase the awareness. And as most of you guys know, this is a volunteer organization, so if you have another method of posting these events or curating events, resources, or announcements for the room, please let us know. So, before we get into our next presenter, a couple different changes to the organization. We've added some teammates. Chad Carlton, who you guys have known over here on the side, is now an organizer with the organization. Yuri, a good friend from Brazil. A couple different guys here from Brazil. Give them a hug for the loss tomorrow, or yesterday. Yuri's joining the team as well. And again, this is a volunteer organization, so if there's anybody out there that would like to help out, or they think that they could contribute or have some resources for the organization, we definitely encourage you to get a hold of us and let us know your level of involvement. Our next presenter are from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa, Oklahoma guys launched about a month before we launched, and they were really critical in giving us feedback and guidance on how to launch our event. And again, this is all part of the Passport program. And Brian Carpenter with 4D Sales.
Well, thank you, folks, for allowing us to be here. This is our fifth 1 million cups, and I have to applaud Springfield. There are twice as many people here today than the combined efforts of the Dallas and Fort Worth 1 million cups when we presented there. And where we got involved with this is 1 million cups is actually hosted in Tulsa at our son's coffee shop. He has a coffee shop called Foolish Things, and it was one of those deals where I didn't know what was going on. He says, "Dad, come over and talk a little bit about 4D." We're actually going to be using the product today to talk a little bit about what we do. And what you're witnessing is the iPad version of 4D, and it's kind of blinking. But we're going to go, and I'm going to work from this category here on the your upper left-hand side for 1 million cups. And the basic premise of what 4D is, it's an iPad or Windows 8 touch tablet that is designed to amplify the ability of a salesperson, primarily in a B2B environment. And if you look back when Mike and Doug and I, we began our career with the IBM Corporation many, many years ago. And at that time, IBM was the place, the Google of where folks wanted to work. And this is what technology looked like in 1993. That's a beautiful IBM computer. My favorite is this prehistoric Google, where the young lady is looking at the card catalog. This is a $5,000 brick cell phone that you would hope to be able to make local calls, and just as a horrible reminder, gas was $1 a gallon. At that time, these were the technologies that we as salespeople used. We used traditional brochures like the Johnson engine. We would use these things called foils. They were transparencies that you laid over a projector. And all it was just this clear piece of plastic that had words on it. If you were really something special, you carried around this carousel of 35 millimeter slides. And your best friend in that whole group was this little locking mechanism. Because if that thing ever came loose and the slides fell out, you were done. Am I upside down, backwards, and all? And we were also taught how to sell off of a piece of paper, off of a chart. Well, the interesting thing, this is a video of Elon Musk at the 2014 shareholder meeting. And the thing that is really striking about this is sales calls and sales presentations really haven't changed. This is from probably the most technologically advanced company in the world showing a PowerPoint presentation at his 2014 shareholder meeting. And so what we've learned is really sales calls haven't changed much in over 30 years in how you present information or how you have access to information. But the one thing we know beyond any shadow of a doubt is buyers have changed. Buyers have changed dramatically. They're more informed. They have less time. They have biases based on information they've researched on you. And when you are with them, every moment counts. We were taught back in the days of Blue that what you wanted was to get a reason to go see a customer again. That doesn't play anymore. If you cannot answer their question, they have no more time for you. And in fact, this gets proven out, and I'm always struck by this. This was a study that McKinsey has done. And this was a worldwide study. It was released earlier in 2014. And the top title there is the 7 most preferred touch points in B2B buying. This is regardless of size of company, regardless of industry, regardless of geographic areas. This is worldwide. And if you could see in between all the blinking that's going on back and forth, is in the consideration set, the evaluation, or the purchase. And do I have any idea of how to keep this thing from blinking? All right, so you'll just have to believe me when the things I say over here. Is the preferred touch point is that personal interaction between the salesperson and the company. Do you see that in the very top line? And it's remarkable. In this day where we spend so much of our time out on the internet, it's the personal relationships that make all the difference in the world. And as a matter of fact, this particular study, which came from the CMO Council, and if you can see it in these quick blinks, this reminds me of that commercial where that DSL and the computer just drops, and he says, well, how do I get any work done? Well, it's kind of hard. But 85% of all buying decisions are based on that direct interaction between the seller and the buyer. They do business with you. They don't necessarily do business with a company. A great company can get destroyed by a bad salesperson. And a great salesperson can make the warts on a bad company go away. And this is proven. McKinsey proves it. The CMO Council proves that. So the idea, I'm going to stop for just a second and jump back into the product. The idea for a second is I want to equip salespeople with any and all content that they could ever possibly want. And so here's what the tool does. We have on the tool itself multiple places to brand. And I'm going to show you some other clients. You can brand up in the upper right-hand corner. You can brand by the background. And you can brand by these categories that are on the left-hand side. These categories, and you can have a gazillion of them, are just are containers of different type of content. If you remember when I touch here at the top, the 1 million cups lit up. I've got PowerPoint presentations in here. I've got videos in here. I have brochures that are loaded in here. I have websites that are loaded. And I have intermingled all different types of media into one presentation set. So I'll show you just some screenshots of different brandings. We were at the Kauffman Foundation, 1 million cups in Kansas City 2 weeks ago. And this is what theirs could look like. I've branded here, I've branded in the background, and I've branded through a set of categories on the left-hand side. Oh, that was Ford Diesel's. York Electronics. We'll go this way. This was a roofing company. I'll find some that are really kind of interesting. Oh, this was the one that Apple was using in a small group down in Texas. But you guys get the idea of how now I can personalize the tool around the different companies and around the different areas. But again, we've loaded all of this content together. I'll show you another example. There's a company called Intermec. This is their actual corporate presentation. And many of you all, am I out of time? Oh, okay, thank you. This is their corporate presentation. You guys have all seen a traditional corporate deck. Well, this is their PowerPoint presentation. And what they say is, we really are a workflow performance company, blah, 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 blah. You have no earthly idea what they really do. You know what they do? They make handheld devices that are as rugged as anything in the industry. Does that say that? Of course that doesn't. Or does this say that? You know, a video of them driving over it, or a video of them taking a sander to it and using it again. All right, or this particular one is actually, when I touch on it, is an access out to Portal's, their website. This is all now resident on the iPad or on a Windows 8 Touch. So what we've done is try to equip the salesperson with anything they could possibly ever need. And we think we've done that. And to kind of close with our particular part, I'd like for you to hear what our customers have said about it.
When I first saw Ford Retail, the word that came to mind was, wow. To me, it was like the vision for something awesome. That's the moment. That's what is so valuable. It has brought a level of professionalism into meetings that we did not have. When we first got Ford,
Oh.
and he sold a $250 million that first time meeting for himself. You know, he had a tutorial on it in about 5 minutes.
That was really a great video that, that said this is the greatest thing since sliced bread or beer in a can or whatever. But that's 40 sales. Thank you all.
Well, before we open it up to questions, first and foremost, sorry about the tech difficulties. If any of you have solutions to these issues, please let us know. So as a guy who's cut my teeth in the entrepreneurial world with B2B sales, this would be awesome. How much does it cost? Does my entire sales force have to buy it? Or, tell me about the pricing and the setup.
Okay, I'm going to actually answer your question, but I'm going to avoid it for just a second. We get this question a lot, and the very first answer that we give back is, can I ask you a question? Do you believe that if your sales force was equipped with this technology and with your content in there, do you believe that it could create one incremental sale per year per sales rep?
Of course.
Of course. And tell me, what is the gross margin on that one incremental sale that you're going to get? And they give some number. And I say, it costs a lot less than that. The answer to this question is it's $40 per month per salesperson. So on a math standpoint, $480 a year. Can I generate 480 incremental dollars of gross margin by having every single bit of content that I could ever possibly need in a format that I can use and that is intuitive and easy to get to? If the answer is no, don't buy it. If the answer is yes, let's get started.
And so do you guys create the content, or you purchase the program and then you're uploading all the content yourself? How does that work?
Yeah, what we do is we help clients primarily in two different ways. One is we actually will build a template which is we take a stab at what their stuff might look like, and then we actually will load some of the content. But we hand it over to them so that they can load whatever content that they want. Currently, you load into 4D Sales through Dropbox within literally a matter of 60 days. It's then going to be Box or SharePoint or the Google Plus, Cloud, this, that, or the other. You basically are going to be unlimited in how you can load content. And again, I'm showing you the iPad version. There's a Windows 8 touch version as well, and so it behaves identically. I think we even brought the Windows 8 version if you guys want to see it.
I think we all get.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think we all get a great
we're supposed
idea.
to ask you guys.
I think we can all get a great idea of what the product is and how it works. Talk to us. Go back to creating the product, developing your IP. What part of this are you looking to patent, and how does all that work?
There's a little bit of a history. We showed this 1983, and that really is when Mike, Doug, and I, we all finished school and went to work for the IBM Corporation. And we were brought up, and all of us have been on the revenue side of a company. Mike happens to have a computer science degree, so he is the real brains behind the technology. But when you look at the revenue side of a company, and as our careers progressed, we all went different ways. The very last job that I had before this was I was the vice president of sales, marketing, advertising, and internet distribution for the Dollar Thrifty Group, the car rental company. And when I left DTAG, I bought a small company that was a sales training, sales consulting company. And it was crystal clear that when you go into a company today, most companies have some semblance of strategy around revenue. They also take a look at their sales team and they say, well, we have some semblance of skills there. But the third part of that three-legged stool is what tools do I actually put in their hands? And historically, CRMs have been that tool, which are not a salesperson's tool. They are a management tool to manage activity. But what I'm interested in is the moment of truth, when a salesperson is in front of a client. There's no tools that exist out there. So Mike, who has a mobile background, believe it or not, I'm actually going to get to the answer to your question. Mike, who has a mobile background, approached me, 2-3 years ago and said, I've got this idea. Mobile technology has gotten to the point where it's actually now usable. The iPad made a big difference in that. And salespeople don't have a tool. Take a look at this. And he calls it today, I called his baby ugly. Great idea, but way too complicated for a sales rep to use. And he said he left our place and he was hacked off. And he said the more he thought about it, the more he realized, no, that's right. We came back and we actually went through 6 or 7 iterations and came up with a design and we funded a prototype. We took that prototype and that's what we IP'd. And subsequently we've copywritten and all that kind of stuff. But we took that and we took it out to a series of customers and we said, can we find anyone who's going to buy this? And this is at a time that we were selling it on a per license basis of a little over $1,000 a license, one-time charge. Same ROI justification. And people were buying it. People were buying it. So we knew we were onto something. So we've made a whole series of changes to the product. We've invested a lot of money into the product, and within, again, about 60 days, we're actually going to have this in a pseudo subscription model where you pay by the month. $40, and it has a whole another series of really cool features that we don't have time to go into today. But that's what we did with the IP. We took the idea, we copyrighted it, we have a provisional patent, and we just are constantly updating it. Yes, sir?
Yeah, I've got a question. Really, I just like being on the microphone, but
I'm kind of like that myself.
no. But the question is, let's say, I think it's a great product. I'm in sales, and I could see the power in this, and the ROI would be incredible. But let's say, I start on the program. 3 months later, which will never happen using this product, but let's say I get canned or move to another country or whatever the reason, What are the terms? I mean, are we under contract? Is it month to month? I mean, could you explain on that?
Yeah, the first year is you pay for a year, and then after that you re-up. If, let's say you lose your iPad, let's say you buy 5 copies for your company, and Bob Smith is one of your reps, and you can Bob Smith. That license still stays with you, and you can move it over to Mary Jones, who just joined your company. So you have 5 accesses to it. And we have the ability to authenticate and authorize. So let's say that Bob Jones needed to be fired, and we wanted to pull content and so forth back and scrap it. We have that with our enterprise version. We have the capability to do that.
On a just follow-up question, what if it's like an individual, like myself? You have like an enterprise and then like a smaller version?
Yeah, it's for you. It's going to still be $480 for the first year, and if you leave after 5 months, that sucks for you, in the sense in the sense that. One of the things I think that you saw, and I was so struck by the mindset of Sean's presentation. We actually give the product away to nonprofits that we're involved with. I think you saw Junior Achievement was the very first one. Junior Achievement, this product is now in 28 different cities around the country, and we've given it to them to help them in how they fundraise and how they go about telling the Junior Achievement story. I'm on the board of it's called the Tulsa Boys Home, and it's the last place before prison before some of these young boys, and we gave it to them to help them in grants and fundraising. So this idea of giving back to the community is I think, just paramount to the structure of almost any company that's built today. I'm sorry, yes, sir.
So why would I want to invest in this instead of using like a free online service like Prezi, which is a cloud-based service that I can use on any of my devices, whether it's a laptop or an iPad or a phone, whatever, and I still have that ability to do a presentation with photos and videos and text?
And again, our answer is, and I might go through all of the ins and outs of what if I was doing this with Dropbox, or what if I was doing this with Prezi, or what if I was going to do it with 1,000 different ones. Ours is very simple. Sales reps won't use what you just described. And there's a whole series of different issues on multiple sales reps and how I push content out and how I pull it back. Prezi is a presentation tool exclusively. That's not what this is. This is about your ability to be active in a sales call and to move anywhere that a client is going to want to go in that call based on all of the content that you've got. We see a huge difference in that on a practical standpoint.
Brian, I certainly understand that. Along the same lines, you bashed on PowerPoint earlier. So what is the better alternative to give a presentation than PowerPoint? The second side to that is I understand the engagement aspect of this app is higher engagement with the customer. Can you close a contract or have electronic signature on this app?
Not in the app, but through the web apps that we have attached to it. One of the questions we get is, I want to integrate our purchasing product, our inventory product in that. And we say, great, we'll do the online access, or we'll let you do the web app to allow you to do exactly that. We're not going to create that for all of the thousands of companies that would need to do that. What they want is access into their own system, and so we give them that. On PowerPoint, we're not PowerPoint haters by any stretch of the imagination. This isn't a replacement for PowerPoint. You don't create anything. You create by putting it together. You'll take an existing PowerPoint or a PDF or an online catalog or a video or an audio or a whatever, and you bundle that all together around a specific talking point or a specific piece that you want to show. I think that's not on right now because it got unplugged. But we'll show this. I like this. This is one of my favorite. Again, this is a potential customer, and you see how they branded with the Caterpillar background and all these content. Within each one of these, whether it's engines and generators, imagine every spec sheet, every video, every customer testimonial, anything that applies to this particular topic, we've interleaved. And that's actually how we see customers starting to bundle content together. It's around how customers and sales reps think. We kind of close our pitch with this idea, this was built by salespeople for salespeople. It's a very different interface than what we have seen when it's built by marketing or when it's built by IT.
Is there because I work with a boss who is not a technical whiz. Okay?
Uh-huh.
He owns the company, he writes the checks, but he's old school in some ways. Is there a trial period? Is there a 30-day trial period to show him what this is going to be, and how it's going to be advantageous to his company?
Not yet, and I don't know that there ever will be, because it's only advantageous when you put your content in it. And so I'll be very frank with you. We have a deal going with a division of Phillips Petroleum right now, and it's a paid trial, and they're paying just a couple of $1,000, and that allows us to build it, to implement it, and to pool it together. And they view it as a $2,000 cheap test before they're going to roll it out to a number of folks. So the answer is, the 4D by itself is nothing. There's nothing there. What makes it magical is the stuff that you have, and how you then can represent your company in ways you've never been able to before. So for that reason, there's nothing there really to try.
Maybe a thought of maybe a 3-month subscription on top of, so that you could recoup some of your time and effort building a platform, but give you an opportunity to let those. I mean, and I know you're talking about huge companies where $2,000 is. I mean, they might spend that on coffee in a month. Where I'm talking about smaller, independently owned companies that.
Yeah, and we do that in certain instances, and I'm gonna. This is gonna sound. I don't know any way to sound it, but to say it, but is. All right, if someone wants to pay $100 for a trial, how much time can I fundamentally put into that to really help them build that?
Go ahead, Brian. Is the platform set up where you have to do all the work?
Oh, no.
Can I upload all my own?
Yes, and if you're willing to do that, there's a completely different conversation. Yeah, but no, I mean, all of us in here, everything is about time and resources, about how much you can pour into things. Yes, sir?
I guess we have like a minute. Could you give us a quick thumbnail sketch of your sales and marketing strategy?
Yeah. I bought a T-shirt that says 4D sale. Mike has one too. Our sales is face-to-face, and we have a number of partnerships that we're working on. As a matter of fact, we have started reaching out. We've had a lot of success in Texas with companies that are sales consultants and sales trainers, where they act as agents on our behalf, and they're offering this up to their customers. There's a Sandler company here in Springfield that we sent a note out to yesterday. And the principal, Brett, I think his last name was, isn't here, but he said, I hope my partner can come. And we are looking at partnerships with sales consultants around the country. We're also hiring a handful of folks in different parts of the country where we do a revenue share for them to be able to have greater offerings over to their customers.
Brian, we're going to wrap it up here in a second, but I got a quick question for the room. How many people here actively are in B2B sales? Wow. There you go. You got some selling to do, buddy.
And again, this is our mantra is this, and I will answer the question that you're going to ask. How can you help us? And the answer is for us is help us get the message out. If we believe this product can be of service to you or to someone that you know, let us know. We are delighted with revenue share. Where you provide a lead for us, we are happy to compensate you for that. If you believe like this could be an offering that would be beneficial to you, we are happy to compensate you for that. And help with all of us that are in this room. We are trying to promote what we do for the betterment of our customer set. And that's what we do. Again, thank you all for hosting.